This is my first time drinking matcha, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. Hello, my beautiful creative souls, and welcome back for today's video. I'm very excited to share my favorite decks of 2022 with you, or most used, I should say. They aren't necessarily my favorites right now, but they are the ones that got the most airtime. So I'm excited to share them with you because who doesn't love a good card flip through video, right? My apologies about the shadows. It's super gloomy and rainy here today and snowy and all the things, but we're not going to let that stop us because this is more important. So I'm going to go in no particular order, but I am revisiting this one again this month, and it just matched my matcha so well that I had to start here. So this is the Tarot of Vampyres, and this was, I think, my most used tarot deck overall for the year. I did put it away for quite a while, but it has made a reappearance. So this is Tarot of Vampyres by Ian Daniels. This deck I purchased early on in 2022, I believe, and the reason that I purchased it was not for the deck, actually, but for the guidebook. So the guidebook that comes with this is an actual, book. It's titled Phantasmagoria, and it just is chock full of all kinds of information. Like, you get all this information in the front before you even get to the major arcana, and then there's just so much to explore. He has some associations of things with the cards, the essence, so which is more like keywords, the message of the card, which this is the message of the card. Like, there's so much to unpack. Then he does analysis and symbolism, which is all about the imagery on the card, so actually unpacking like the artwork and why that particular person in the card is doing those things. And then you'll also get the shadow. So for all of the major arcanas, they're pretty long. And then when you get to the minor arcana, for example, it has the same thing. It's a little less meaty because the themes aren't as large, but you still get a lot. Like, this is the message, and this is the analysis of the card, right? That's a ton of information. So I really like this. There's a ton to explore. The shadow for the minor arcanas is usually just kind of keywords. I wish there was a little bit more like there is in the major arcana. But all in all, a really interesting deck if you want to just kind of study the cards and like the different meanings and things that he associates with each thing. Let's try not to get too glary here. So this is the imagery. Some of the cards I really, really like the imagery of. Most of them I'm just kind of like meh about. It is very dark. Some people would call this spooky. It is quite interesting, his different interpretations. He looks at the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life a lot, which I'm still learning about, but there are definitely like traditional meanings within here as well. There are specific like color themes running throughout to go with the different elements, which I think is really interesting. And I do love the pops of color. Like, you'll see here, yellow is air for them, so you'll see lots of yellow because this is a knives color. Red for the scepters. So it's very interesting. Lots of crows. Very gothic, lots of snakes, which is something I have to get over, but it definitely is a deck that makes you think, especially when you come upon an image because you're like, what's going on here? So all in all, cool deck. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but I did want to show you this one. This one's one of my favorite cards, the Sun. It's just so like lusty and a perfect representation, in my opinion, of like the dark and light aspect to like coming together, which is just really fun. This, I also really like this one for the Seven of Wands. So yeah, it's a really interesting, there's the Lovers. I love the Death Moth on here. Really interesting. You'll see like different astrological symbols in here. So I also had gotten it for that. And this is a deck you could just continue studying forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And there's so much in the guidebook that, like, even if you didn't want to use the deck, you could just use the guidebook, which I think is really interesting. So that is the Tarot of Vampyres by Ian Daniels. Next up is a oracle deck that I've talked about before in a favorites, and this is the Work Your Light oracle cards. I used this a bunch in 2022. This book will not come out. So this is by Rebecca Campbell, however you say that. And I just really enjoy this, especially when you're going through transitions and things about your personal identity. These cards get a little bent. I don't know why. But it's a really great deck for that. The imagery is something that I really enjoy. It's collagey, it's photo manipulation, and I'm all about kind of that, mixing the real photos with just like a dreamy aesthetic. And I feel that this deck really gets to the heart of it. It doesn't let you shy away from whatever it is that you're working through, but it does do it in a very, like, nice way. And it's very reassuring. Like, you've been training for this for lifetimes. Like, is that not the best message to get? So yeah, I really love this. I have most of Rebecca Campbell's decks. I really do enjoy the Starseed one as well, but I feel that this one is a more well-rounded deck. The Starseed one's really great if you're specifically doing things with your spiritual path and things of that nature, but the Work Your Light Oracle really works well for more general readings. I also really like that it has a yes and no in here, which you don't find a lot in decks, or at least in the ones that I own anyway. And like, oh, isn't that beautiful? That ended up on one of my vision boards for 2022 for this summer. It's just such a beautiful deck. So that is the Work Your Light Oracle by Rebecca Campbell. Next is a deck that I got more recently. I got this towards the end of the year, probably in the last 3 months or so, but it has been one of my favorite decks of all time, simply because it's useful in a way that many others aren't. I don't think the guidebook is necessary because, oh, I didn't show you the guidebook of the Work Your Light. I apologize for that. I don't think the guidebook is necessary because a lot of the cards are self-explanatory. It's kind of like a magic 8-ball in the form of a deck, which is really what I was looking for. And that's literally like how I use it. I use it for kind of those yes or no questions. What should I do about blank? When should I do it? And it will be honest with you. Sometimes it gives you clear yes. Sometimes it gives you clear no. Sometimes it's just like, quit asking and deal with it. And I really do. I find that helpful. This one is cool too. You get like helpful people. There's multiple yeses and multiple nos in here. Sometimes there's no, we're not right now. Ask for help. Wait. Reconsider. Unlikely. Like, it's just a really, really fun deck. I don't really care for the images too much. They don't do much for me. But I do appreciate the color choices. I think the color choices are great. And like I said, it's invaluable just for the magic 8-ball style cards. So this isn't one that I would sit down and like do a reading with, but this is one where if I was going to pull out, you know, a pendulum or something and try to ask a yes or no question, this just for me is easier. I also do have a magic 8-ball that I use sometimes, but it's just a really fun way to get out of your own head and ask the cards a really like clear answer. So that is the Angel Answers Oracle cards by Radleigh Valentine, and I will have links below in case you would like to check these decks out for yourself. I love the links because I have like an ongoing Amazon wish list that I have, so, and that's where I just like, even if I don't buy them from Amazon, I at least know that like they're in my wish list over there. This is the Work Your Light Oracle, just to go back for a second and show you what the guidebook looks like, because I think that is important. Not that you have to use the guidebook, but I think it's an interesting resource, and it provides different, provides you with different points of view and different ways of looking at things, especially with the creator. So in the Work Your Light Oracle, this is the book. It gives you like a little mini black and white print of the card. It will reiterate what's on the card, and then there'll be a little bit of a, you know, guidance blurb, and then it has some questions, which I think is really interesting and very helpful when you're looking at this. Like, okay, this is the message, but like, how do I apply it to what I have going on? So those questions can be really helpful for that. All right, moving on. I thought this was a very tarot heavy year, but for the life of me, I can't figure out what other tarot decks I used during the year. I have one other notable mention, but I don't know why. My brain has just blanked on what else did I use. My next deck is the Angels and Ancestors Oracle Cards deck by Kyle Gray. This is one that I cannot rave enough about. I'm obsessed with this deck. I'm obsessed with the artwork. I am not super like obsessed with the guidebook. The guidebook is pretty standard. I mean, it's Hay House, so you have some like information in the beginning that's pretty basic, which is great if you're a beginner. You have, again, mini print of the cards, information that's on the card, a really quick like one-liner message, and then you get a little bit about whatever the archetype or the person or the animal, etc. is on the card, and then you get an extended message of kind of what that means for you. It is pretty short and sweet, but I do appreciate that it does talk a little bit about the image on the card itself and then the message separately. So the guidebook isn't bad, but this artwork is just so good. I don't know why I whispered that, but you have the drum. So there's different like archetypes, like I said, Peacekeeper, there's angels, there's ancestors. I mean, it says it right on it, right? The Oracle. But then there's also different not elements, but there are different animals and symbols and things that give you different messages, which I think is really fun. Like mountains, stand your ground. So this is a really great deck when you're looking for some guidance, some advice. This is one I take when traveling because I feel like sometimes you just really need that reassurance and the guidance and that kind of ancestral protection and things. Like, look at how stunning. It's so pretty. And again, I love how it's like, I think it's all art, but it looks very realistic to me, which I really appreciate because I'm all about kind of that photo fantasy kind of thing. And this really just tickles my fancy. And this one, like, so good. I can't say enough about this deck. I really, really do enjoy it. The cards are very thick in this one, I find. Of course, you never know with Hay House. The printing is always different. My Work Your Light Oracle is like paper thin and curls up, and then this one is like super thick. So, but yeah, this is the Angels and Ancestors Oracle deck by Kyle Gray. I said I wasn't going to show you all of them, but I can't help myself. They're just so pretty. All right, let's mix it up with another tarot deck. So this is Tarot de la Nuit. I also got this later in the year, around October, September. You would have seen this in a haul video that I put out for Halloween. But this deck has been on my wish list for a long time. And it did not disappoint, let me tell you. These are the backs. Love the moons. So, Tarot de la Nuit. This is a Lo Scarabeo deck. So, this is your guidebook. And it comes in multiple different languages. So, if you speak a language other than English, it might be in here. So it's very reminiscent of a little book, but it has its own storyline, which I really appreciate in a deck, because once you learn the basics, having that added storyline just adds layers and layers onto your knowledge of each card and what it means in a story, and it's beautiful. I love it. So again, this is like dark fantasy photo realism deck. It's not diverse, so if that's important to you, this is not going to be your deck. But in the guidebook, it has it tells you what the card is. It has like a highlighted meaning. It has a little blurb, which is about a story about the person on the card. I might read one to you in a second, just so you can get a feel for that. And then it has keywords at the bottom, which are usually traditional of the card meanings. But I just love it so much. It's vibrant yet dark. It's sexy. It makes you think. It's fantastical. Like, look at this. This is probably one of my favorite Five of Wands ever. Like, it just illustrates it beautifully. The separateness, the tension, the fighting, the conflict. Like, it's all there in this image. It's so good. Hanged Man, Ace of Wands, and like, look, the Ten of Wands. Burning things away. It's non-traditional sometimes in the imagery. Like, Ten of Wands usually is, a guy with a bunch of sticks carrying it up a hill. And that one happens to be her burning things away, but it's just like Nine of Swords. Is that not perfect? I just really, really love this deck. If you're into fantasy, otherworld stuff, kind of mixed with photorealism and just that like sexy lady vibe, then this might be a deck for you. Again, not super diverse, but if you can get past that, it's awesome. And this guy always makes me think of The Witcher. So I won't make you sit through all of them. I have a giant deck unboxing video, which I will have attached, where I went through all of the cards. I just want to read you a card from the guidebook because I think it's super unique in the way that it's written. So here we go. The Six of Cups is the card that we're going to read. So, Six of Cups. Nostalgia Lane, which nostalgia is what I think of when I think of Six of Cups, so I love that. Let's get this card up here for you so you can also see, because it's so story-centric. Nostalgia Lane. Memories are here again. I miss my past, my childhood, my loved ones. My carefree youth has vanished in the alleys of time. I wish I could go back to my lost happiness, but it's impossible. It is my soul I will lose if I only live in the past. I have to find bliss in the present time also. My nostalgia could become my strength. Looking behind must help me moving forward. I have to take good care of my inner child so she can experience joy again. And look, There's a light above my head, which I hope will guide me to a bright future. It's the same for you. Don't stay too long in nostalgia lane. Go back to your real life and to the gifts it offers. Nostalgia, memories of a vanished time, healing, and inner child. Is that not beautiful? Like, it's a short and sweet story about exactly what's going on in the card. It incorporates both the light and the shadow meaning of the Six of Cups within it, right? And it transports you there, and it's yummy in a way that words are just not coming to me to describe at the moment. But I really, really, really enjoy this deck. Next up, we have another deck that I acquired this year. This was the Season of the Witch Beltane Oracle. I did get this in the spring. And I don't celebrate the Wheel of the Year, so I did not use it for that per se. But I do have the Samhain one as well. And I do really like them for bringing in the energy of the season that they were created for. So I did a lot of work this year on myself and coming forward to who I am, which is very springtime energy, right? The rebirthing aspect. So I ended up using this deck a lot. This artwork I'm not a super fan of. It's not bad by any means. I'm not knocking the creator. It's just not my style. But the messages are really good. And this is one I actually usually have to use the guidebook for when I'm doing it. So in the guidebook, it's really fun. It's full color. They have some introductions, some spreads and things. I do enjoy the spreads they have in these little books. And then you get a color copy of the card. You get the name of it, a keyword, which is not on the card, which is cool. And then the little poem. And so each card is a little poem, as you'll see, which is really fun. And then it just has, you know, a message for you. Sometimes they'll have extra little things that go along with it. Like, for instance, this one right here. So after the oak tree, you have like other flowers and trees and their magical uses for the season, which I think is really interesting. And I love, of course, the stars in the corners there. They are gilded. Like I said, I do have the Samhain Oracle as well, which I really enjoy. I also purchased the Yule deck, which I have not been able to kind of bond yet with. But I did use this one, again, like I said, a lot in 2022. So, again, the artwork isn't bad by any means. It's just not particularly my thing. Like, I'm not sitting here admiring it, although it is beautiful for what it is. I more enjoy the messages and the little poems that are underneath each card. So this one, the Maiden, 22. Demand what is yours and take back what was taken. Reclaim until you've gathered all of you. The ones in the Samhain Oracle are way more like mysterious and things. Embodiment. Now unsown from the flesh, a most alluring lullaby stills my pain as the skies bleed for my heart in the embodiment that I claim. Whew, gives me chills. So that is the Seasons of the Witch Beltane Oracle. Again, like I said, I don't celebrate the Wheel of the Year, so I don't use it for that. I'm sure it would be great for that if you did. But I just like using them, you know, when I'm internally or outwardly in whatever season they correspond to. And then one more, you guys, one more, last but not least. I've had this one for a while. This is one of my favorites. I use this in almost all of my client readings usually. This is the Queen of the Moon Oracle. And you just can't beat it. This one just, I don't even know how to describe her. I have not looked at the guidebook in a very long time, so we'll see. We'll read something from it after. We'll see what that looks like. But these are the backings, which beautiful, right? And then these are the cards. And again, it is very fantasy photorealism style. You can see what I like, right? This is one of my favorite cards in the deck. I just love it. I love the vibrant colors. Some of them are kind of meh, like I'm not too fond of the blossoming one, but it always gives you a lot to go over on the image. Like this, discernment. Maybe you're feeling cloudy about it. Like that's very evident, right? Focus on, you know, that soul feeling and where the passion and your intuition is leading you, and use that to guide yourself even if you can't see right now. Like, isn't that beautiful? Like, I just came up with that from the image. It's just such a good deck. Again, this is another one that I really love, the self-reflection. So it seems simplistic, but it's very complex, and especially when you can put a bunch of cards together, it's a great clarifier. Like I said, I use this in almost all of my client readings. It always wants to come out. It just loves to help and to point things out in a gentle way. It's very kind of centered on, you know, positive manifestation and things like that. So if you're looking for something to help you with your manifestations, this is a card deck that I can definitely recommend. This one freaks me out a little because it reminds me of It. Like with the red balloon going through like the hole. Like, I don't know. But anyway. Now you won't be able to unsee it. This is a great one too. I love the darkness card. The void. So that is the Queen of the Moon Oracle. And those are all the decks I have for you. So let's just, since we didn't look at the guidebook, pull a card. What does the collective watching this video need to know right now? So take this for you and leave what doesn't resonate. But we got fruition. I love this lady's hat. I'm usually not one for this kind of like bird aesthetic, but I do really enjoy that. So this is 37. So in the guidebook, we get the keyword, a little tiny color reproduction. It looks like we have a little bit of an explanation, an affirmation of sorts, and then some more information, and a suggested stone companion. Is that on all of them? Yes. So if you're into crystals and things, which I most certainly am, there's a little companion stone. I don't think I've ever used that part of it. Like I said, I don't often, if ever, use the guidebook with this deck because it's so intuitive, but there's that. So, fruition. As the seasons turn, there is always a time when all the potential of spring beginnings is manifest. The crops grow tall and are ready to harvest, and they have done this from a fallow field into which we have planted seeds. The trees have flowered, and now there is fruit to pick. It is time for the harvest. Which makes sense, right? Because it's the harvest moon. Affirmation. I welcome the joyous fruition of all the intentions I set. That's beautiful. All right, continuing on. When we are able to bring something to fruition, whether it be a planting, a project, or a change in ourselves, it is the perfect time to celebrate all that we are grateful for and to mark our achievement. We may have worked very hard to bring this new situation into reality. We may have been patient in the way we have worked over time and sacrificed much to make it happen. The harvest moon is the time to be happy about our successes and to share it with others. Our ancestors would dance and sing and have community festivals of thanks, all to celebrate the fruitions of all the hard work and thanks to the gods for their assistance. These times of high energy are also times to really focus on your body, as they can be quite taxing on our systems. If we don't take care, it is often the time we will get ill. This moon normally falls on the moon closest to the autumn equinox in the northern hemisphere. Oh, that's fun. So it's like a little, there is a little tidbit of like information there for you. And then your companion stone is garnet. So fun. Maybe I should use the guidebook more often. But that is the Queen of Moon Oracle, which brings us to the end. There are absolutely many more decks that I used and enjoyed in 2022, but these were the ones that ended up getting the most airtime, and Tarot de la Nuit has to be my favorite deck of 2022, and I'm excited to continue to get to know it better in 2023. Let me know in the comments what your most used decks for 2022 were. I would love to check them out and possibly add them to my to my wish list. And yeah, with all of that being said, I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you so much for spending your time with me and taking the time to comment. It really means the world to me. And I will see you guys again soon. Take care, guys.